Good day everyone. Our group was tasked to discuss about pre-abattoir handling of animals before slaughter or dressing. Our group is consist of 3 members. My name is Jerome Indiza and will be followed by Jan Pululan and Mito Embedio. Before we proceed to the lesson, let's first define what is an abattoir. An abattoir is a synonym for slaughterhouse. It is a place where livestock such as pigs, cows, chicken, turkeys, and goats are brought to be slaughtered and processed for meat. Now, since our topic is pre-abattoir or pre-slaughter handling of meat animals includes procedures adopted during transportation, pre-slaughter rest, and ante-mortem inspection. So basically, pre-abattoir is a series of steps or procedure to how animals, precisely meat animals, are managed before they go under the process of slaughter. Pre-abattoir includes several steps or procedures, and each procedure has a guideline on how these procedures should be conducted to ensure a good quality of service and byproduct during slaughter. During this discussion, the following contents are expected. First is introduction, pre-slaughter rest, stress, how to handle stress, fasting, ante-mortem inspection, and we will be talking about a case analysis study and a research market about the pre-abattoir handling of animals before slaughter.
Introduction. Livestock refer to animals from which meat is produced. Types of food animals vary in different parts of the world. Livestock mainly to cattle, goat, sheep, poultry, and ostrich. Other slaughter animals of relevance, in particular in developing countries, are buffalo, camels, and rabbits. The transformation of slaughter animals into meat is a chain of events, including handling and loading on the farm, transfer to the market, pens or slaughterhouse, offloading and holding the final slaughter. During this procedure, poor operational techniques or facilities will lead to unnecessary suffering, injuries, and loss of production. Pre-slaughter rest. Pre-slaughter rest is the period before slaughter when animals are rested in order to improve the meat quality and reduce the chances of contamination with gastral bacteria. During pre-slaughter rest, fatigue could have negative influence on protective functions of animals, allowing rapid penetrations of the microorganisms, especially E. coli, through mucous membrane on the intestine through the bloodstream and ultimately to the organs. Stress. Scientific research has shown that warm-blooded animals feel pain and feel emotion of fear, in particular mammals, including food animals of this group, have brain structure that enable them to feel fear and suffering from pain, and it's likely that they suffer pain in the same way as humans. Fear, pain, and very strong causes of stress in livestock, and stress affect the quality of meat obtained from the livestock. Pain is usually the effect of injury and suffering, which also affect the quality and the value of meat from affected animals.
How to handle stress. Number 1. Mixing. When sorting of animals for transportation or at markets, it is important to minimize the mixing of unknown groups. If mixing is necessary for transportation, make sure animals are not kept in these groups for extended periods of time. For example, 1 to 2 days prior to slaughter. Number 2. Transportation and vehicles. Always use the correct vehicles for the species you are moving. Ensure that the ramps on and off the vehicles are suitable and meet regulations. Follow regulations around stocking densities and journey times. Number 3. Lairage. The time spent in the lairage is crucial, particularly when considering bulls. Be aware that sheep often feel less stressed when they can see other sheep around them. However, cattle can become more distressed. Think about how the lairage pens are designed for the pigs in known groups. Until the point of slaughter. Make sure that there are no poles or light or dark areas which will prevent the animals from moving easily through the raceways. Ensure that the temperature and ventilation are optimal to reduce stress to pigs. Number 4, use the animal's natural behaviors to move them on and off transport as well as through the light range. Try to avoid contact with animals as this can cause increased stress levels. Instead, use flags as extension of your arm to encourage movement. So all of these four are the ways of handling the stress levels of slaughtered animals, because if they become stressed during the pre-slaughter, it will affect the overall quality of the meat. That's why handling stress in slaughter animals is a very crucial step in animal welfare. Next is fasting. Before slaughter, animals should be allowed access to water but held off feed for 12 to 24 hours to assure complete bleeding and ease of evisceration. Water requirements decreases with moist food, colder weather, non-lactating animals. And water requirements increases with dry feed and hot weather. Animals should have access to fresh, clean water up to the point of loading. When loading from markets or collecting points, be aware that the animals may not have had water for some time. Offer water before you start loading. The following is the guide to animals' normal requirements. So for adult pigs, requires 25 liters per day. Adult sheep requires 20 liters per day. Adult cattle, 40 liters per day, and milking cows is 100 to 180 liters per day. So it is important to for animals to be hydrated. Transportation of meat animals. Animals are taken to slaughterhouse either on hoof or through road, rail, sea transport. Whatever the means, what is of paramount importance is that the animals must not be subjected to cruelty. There are legislations against cruelty to animals, and procedures recommended need to be strictly adhered to. If the animals are carried by road or rail, care needs to be taken to avoid overcrowding, which may lead to suffocation and physical injuries in the form of bruises, fractures, and etc. Tying or chaining of animals is to be avoided. There are specially designed trucks and wagons available to take care of such issues and should be used as far as possible.
Before we proceed to ante-mortem inspection, let's have first an additional information about transport prior to slaughter of animals. During transporting animals intended for slaughter can create problems from both the animal's welfare and meat quality point of view. There are some factors that affect the condition of the animals. First is quality of transportation. Quality of transportation, stopping and starting must be smooth so that the animals are not buffeted in the vehicle. The truck should be adequately designed to the type of stock it is transporting. Thus, there should be no protrusions that could cause injury. The deck height should be sufficient of the animals to stand without contacting overhead structure. The floor should be of non-slip materials and which can be easily repaired and will not injure the feet of the animals. Lastly, transport vehicle should have wide doors to provide easy loading and to reduce bruising during loading. The next factor is weather. A heat and sunny weather or cold and rainy weather are the most hazardous conditions during transport of livestock. For example, pigs which have poorly developed sweat glands are highly susceptible to heat and stress. Therefore, during hot weather, it is preferable to transport those animals at night or early in the morning to avoid the increased heat buildup inside the truck. Next is stress. Stress affects the quality of meat through the effects of muscle glycogen level. Animals subjected to undue stress, excessive amount of adrenaline are released into the muscle system, thereby stimulating glycolysis and thus depleting glycogen reserves. There are two types of stress prior to slaughter. The first is long-term pre-slaughter stress, which is fighting and transit, which occurs 12 to 48 hours prior to slaughter, results to the depletion of muscle glycogen, resulting in higher pH in meat, darker color, and drier. while short-term acute stress is excitement or fighting immediately prior to slaughter resulted in the production of lactic acid from the breakdown of glycogen. Meat lower in pH, lighter in color, reduced water binding capacity, and possibly tough.
The antemortem inspection, it refers to the inspection of food of animals conducted prior to slaughter to ascertain fitness of or otherwise of the animals for slaughter. So the objectives of antemortem inspection is to detect the animal suffering from infectious or scheduled diseases, and to detect diseases causing toxic or infectious conditions and which may escape detection in post-mortem examinations, to prevent outbreaks of food poisoning resulting from the consumption of meat and of animals which were ill at slaughter, to make post-mortem inspection more efficient and less laborious, and lastly to document information or animal diseases prevalent in the region, to prevent the use of meat from animals suffering from febrile condition. So the purpose of antemortem inspection is to assure that the meat product that comes to the market is safe, and also to detect any contamination that's left during the post-mortem inspection, because there are several infectious diseases that might skip the process of inspection, so they have to double check it, and also to ensure that the quality of the meat is edible and also cannot cause contaminations to the human body and also cause diseases such as the meat poisoning.
At this point, let me present to you a case study analysis about the study of Gubena and Kumsa on 2020 entitled The Review on the Effects of Improper Handling, Slaughtering Process, and Transport on Welfare of Animals and Meat Quality on Rural Areas. Their study stated that the most common farm animal transport system was on the foot from a rural nearby market and then by vehicle to the urban area. During transport, farm animals were exposed to several potential stress like trip distance design of vehicle, animal standing orientation, loading and unloading facilities, and temperature fluctuating that affect the welfare, quality, and shelf life of meat and meat products. Aversive ways of handling farm animals, including proper use of sticks, pushing, pulling, and beating them on their head and body frequently by handlers and slaughtering them without stunning, were common practices. This aversive way of handling also causes carcass damage such as bruises, hemorrhages, skin blemishes, blood splash, and broken bones. From this study, we can say that the improper pre-abattoir From this study, we can say that improper pre-abattoir or mishandling of animals before slaughter still exists in some areas, especially in our country, and this has a great impact on the animal welfare and meat quality. Therefore, using this review as a basis, we can arrive to a recommendation that in order to improve animal welfare and thereby meat quality that has been affected by improper handling, transport, and slaughter, the government or local government is strongly encouraged to endorse inclusive animal welfare jurisdictive acts that would protect sentience, define animal welfare in line with OIE standards, and prohibit animal brutality, creating awareness for stakeholders, particularly for handlers, about behavioral principles, proper handling of farm animals, basic concept and rule of good animal welfare, and its significant impact on the quality of meat is also imperative. Now let's move on to market research. Mantika in 2019 says concern for animal welfare is a major consideration on meat production and is based upon the belief that animals can suffer. Welfare may be considered in terms of the subject experiences of animals measured using preference testing, are in terms of biological functioning, which is measured using reactions to stress including plasma levels of glucocorticoids, catecholamines, prolactin, and endorphins, as well as heart rate and brain levels of neurotransmitters. Meat consumers are increasingly demanding that animals be reared, handled, transported, and slaughtered using humane practices. Public pressure for increased protection and welfare of animals comes primarily from people in largely urbanized populations, is inversely related to the proportion of population that is engaged in agriculture, and is increasing in importance throughout the world. Concern about the welfare of animals is contingent on people believing that animals, if improperly cared for or mistreated, can experience pain and suffering. Transportation is considered a major stressor for farm animals and might have deleterious effects on health, well-being, performance, and ultimately product quality. So, overall, we can assume that poor quality pre-handled animals and meat will have poor processing properties, functional quality, eating quality, and more likely to be unaccepted by consumers. Since more consumers are starting to know about animal welfare, including proper handling of meat animals before slaughter, this issue can make a great impact on the possibility of increase or decrease of demand on meat, knowing up to how these meat animals are handled or processed. So that would be all for our report. I hope everyone get to learn something. And that would be all. Thank you and have a nice day.